Hello and welcome, and today we have another C64C, which I got with the notice that it's broken, and it's quite an interesting machine from the outside. As you can see, it has a slightly weird keyboard. It uses the old bread bin style black or dark brown keys for the like alphabet and all the stuff, and it has the newer C64C style or C64G style keys here on the numerical and the shift and function keys, but it's a little bit different as well because the font here on the return key and some of the other printing look a bit weird. Plus, these keys look hardly used at all. I'm wondering if these are third-party aftermarket keys, because there were some keycap things on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, whatever. It looks a bit weird. I like the design. It is interesting. The machine has been opened and I can see some kind of packing paper on the back side of the keyboard. Also, the keyboard slides a bit from left to right, so either this is one of the cheap cases, although it does have screws. It's not one of those that is only clipped together. And yeah, I haven't really tested it yet. So first thing we will do is put some video and power in, put in the diagnostic cartridge, the what is it called, UFD or something, which shows the voltage, 5 volt, the clock, and anything else, I don't know. And it has the dead test on it, so we can see if we get any life out of this. But first we will use it without anything and see if there will be a video signal from the VIC chip, which would be amazing if that worked. And then we'll go from there. We will open it up and have a look what this packing paper inside here is. Like, it looks like gift wrap or something. I do see the RF shield, the paper shield. So there might be anything in there. Is it a shortboard? Is it a longboard? I don't know. This seems to be a very interesting machine. So let's open it up and have a look. Or first test it and then open it up. So everything is plugged in. The converter, the HDMI converter for the composite output is running. The power supply, it's a new power supply, is switched on. Video and power is connected. Let's turn the machine on. We get a we get not only a black screen, but interesting. It says 64K RAM system, 38 something basic bytes free. 64K RAM system, that is unusual, isn't it? Maybe there's a custom ROM inside. It definitely looks like the color RAM is broken. I hope this is not a shortboard, because with the shortboard the color RAM is inside of the PLA. And that would be bad, of course. But let's have a look at what the diagnostic cartridge says. Because who knows what we have here. The UFD Rev2 is running. Can you see that? Yeah, I think so. And there we go. The dead test, or the diag, is running. It's not the dead test. That does look good. Screen RAM is okay. 0 page and stack page were okay. RAM test checks out fine. The voltage is too low, 4.2 volts. That could of course lead to problems, I think. That's a bit wonky. Color RAM is being tested. And what does the color RAM say? That's good. Cassette, control port, serial port, and user port say bad. Interrupt says bad. That could be a problem. Maybe, maybe not. One of the CRAs is not working, it seems. Both CRAs are saying bad, but that could be due to test harness missing, because I don't have a test harness. The 6581 is listed as bad, so maybe there's no SID chip in here. Maybe someone ripped off the SID chip. So this is a mixed bag, basically. 6526 wouldn't be so bad. We could repair that, of course. But one CIA is working because you can see one of the clocks is running. But then again, as I said, voltage seems too low. Let's open this up, because I think that's the only way we will figure out what we're actually dealing here with. Somebody produced a very weird kind of machine here, and I'm very eager to see what they actually did. So we can only tell if we open up this little machine. Let's do that. There's only 3 screws on these C64C cases. There are no feet at the back, only 2 feet at the front. I think that's factory. There were never any feet at the back because, well, those cost a couple of cents as well. And if Commodore could save money, they would. So what will be inside of this? The voltage being low is a little bit worrisome. Right, there we go. Someone did some weird stuff here. Okay, the things, the little brackets that usually go below the keyboard are missing, which is why they used packing paper to wrap this, which is not a big issue. We can deal with that. I will unplug the keyboard. Also, there's no Captain tape over here. I will add that as well. The keyboard is relatively clean. Someone also fixed up the LED very weirdly. Okay, so people have been in here and probably made things worse. And we're dealing with, not with a shortboard, which is good. This is a 250425 board without the RF shield around the VIC. The VIC is from 1984. The clock generator seems to have been, is already reduced into one chip. It's from 87, 51st week, so this has been replaced probably. The 6581, we need to test this if it still works. It's at least in here. It's an original revision, more or less, also from 84. Everything is from 1984. There is a CIA chip. This might be the one that doesn't work. Probably a fake, I would say, because it is weirdly labeled. Let's lift this from here. It will start without this thing. Yeah, this looks absolutely fake. Let's have a look. And turn on a little bit more light so you can perhaps see that. It says CSG, but this is totally fake. This is totally fake. This is definitely not a original Commodore chip, I would say. This thing is probably okay. I wonder if the voltage goes back to normal after this. Let's plug in everything again once more and have a look. I think someone had a slightly broken C64 and tried to repair it with a fake chip and then gave up. because it was not economical for them to repair it. But we will bring this back to life. Most certainly. So, let's turn on the capture device again. And nothing happens because I forgot to turn on the power supply. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. No, we're still at 4.29. Aha, okay. So the CIA removed seems to be good, but this CIA seems to be bad. That's interesting. We do have some corruption here on the screen. The screen RAM looks a bit bonkers right now, at least the color RAM. It is flaky. The question is, the color RAM still tests good, which is interesting, which is very interesting. So I would like to remove the other CIA as well. Insert the fake CIA. So maybe it is a good one. Oh, interesting. The second CIA here is also from 1989, so it is a replacement part, more or less. Which is interesting. We're going to remove that and retry and see what it looks like. Okay, we still get the weird colors. The weird colors could be also the PLA or maybe the VIC acting up. So we might be looking at several faults, which is interesting. I might need to borrow a couple of CIAs. I will plug in the presumably fake CIA into the right socket now to see if we get back the functioning CIA. Yeah, it looks... it doesn't count up. That's interesting. Interesting. So there are a heck of a load of errors here. The good thing is all the big chips are socketed. The ROM is socketed, the CPU is socketed. But the bad thing is we do get color errors, but we don't get any problems from the color RAM, which is incidentally, let's see where it is. It is 4066. There should be a NS RAM here somewhere. Here it is. It's U6. It's a National Semiconductor MM2114N-3. It tests as good. The question is it really good? Or is the VIC perhaps the problem? And we have problems with the CIA. And we might have a PLA problem. So what I'm first gonna do is put some deoxit in the sockets. We also have still the problem that the voltage is not very good that we're getting. So maybe that's something that we should test first, or that we should repair first, so to speak. A candidate is of course the voltage regulator, because if we don't get any sufficient power from that, then any hope is lost. So even after I deoxit this, we will probably have the same issue, because the voltage is way off. Maybe once the voltage is back up to 5 volts, we start to see life in the chips, because we didn't see voltage go up. Because if there's a broken chip and it puts like a strain or a lot of power draw, we might see voltage go down. But That's not what we saw with the test cartridge. And I would assume that 4.2 volts is way too low for these things to function properly. Which could explain quite a bit. Is there another? Oh, there's one more screw. Which could explain quite a bit of these behaviors, like maybe the SRAM or the PLA or the VIC not working properly. But what we also could try is, after I removed here the VIC, we would probably not have a clock, because that's generated by the VIC. And we could see if maybe the VIC pulls down the voltage, but I doubt it. I doubt it. So I would say let's deoxide this, do one more try, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna replace the voltage regulator. Because if that is failing, we have an issue, so to speak. And I do have a lot of replacements for the 7805. So yeah, let's quickly deoxide and retry. Okay, everything is deoxided, whatever you say. And we're gonna turn this on again. We get 4.5 volts, interesting enough. Still the graphics errors, both CIAs are now not really working. Oh no, the left CIA is working, the right CIA is not correctly working. It shows the PM time. It is progressing its time, but looks weird. We still have the color issues. So maybe still the VIC is broken, but let's test the voltages, which could be an issue, of course. Let's test the 12 volts, which I think might be needed for the VIC. So that was garbage. We need to test here. 12 volts is there, it is correct. And the 5 volts is spot on, interesting enough. So we need to figure out why there is so little of the 5 volts getting to the chips, which is not normal, let's say. We need to figure that out. So one thing that I noticed is the following. I unplugged the PLA as well, and when I push on this, it sometimes stops the issues that we're seeing. One thing I noticed is that this is also a replacement part. This board has seen quite a few of potential fixes or repair attempts, which is a bit sad. Oh wow, now we have total garbage on the screen. And this one is a desoldered PLA. And especially pin 14, which is the color signal, is very short. I think the PLA might be working. I'm gonna turn this off for now. But I think the pins are not making good contact. I could try and solder this into the board directly, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think I will try and get a replacement PLA, either a Plankton or a GAL PLA replacement. I have used those with good success in the past. So I think this here, for example, has been always socketed, as it usually are, so there's no issue there. I think that is part of the issue. What is not explaining this behavior is why we see the voltage dropping so far. So I need to go from the voltage regulator here, from the output pin, and trace it probably on the back side and see where it goes and where it gets like weaker. If there is any component that is suspicious, like a capacitor being mostly shorted or whatever. I'm not quite certain. Because if we don't figure that one out, I'm not sure about the quality of the CIAs here. The fake CIA, I think, has just been relabeled by Chinese resellers or something, but it seems to work. This here seems to be partially broken because it shows the wrong time, but I'm not quite sure either. But without a proper 5-volt, I wouldn't count too much on anything working correctly here. So maybe this will go away once the 5-volt is actually being supplied correctly. The voltage regulator does work. The power supply is good. It works perfectly fine on my other C64s showing 5 volts. And so I think there's something very iffy somewhere on this board, but it's hard to figure out. The VIC I think is okay, because a different VIC I just tested has the same issue on this board. So I think we can exclude that as well. The CPU is of course also a candidate usually, but it seems to be working more or less fine even at the 4.2 level. I mean, the dead test is running. So yeah, I think probing with the multimeter will be the way to go forward from here. Definitely a tricky issue, which in one way is quite interesting, but also a little bit annoying. Probably not an easy fix, and that's probably why the person gave up on this machine. But we will get it back to working order, I'm gonna say. Okay, so we have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the voltage has ramped up to 4.9 volts. I think maybe some of the capacitors are reforming. That might have been the issue all along. However, still the things here are broken. The CIA is still broken. I think by now the PLA is broken as well. I put a heatsink on the CPU because it also runs pretty hot, but that's normal. But cooling it will hopefully make it live a little bit longer. But the main issue with the colors being wrong is the fact that down here this pin should be the color select, and it's always at 0. Other signals look more or less fine. I do see problems on the RAS and CAS. I think this is the CAS or something, which is sort of broken, I think, because it should be active low. But this points to the PLA being pretty much defective. And I don't have a replacement one at hand. All the other ones that I have are soldered in. So I'm gonna order a replacement PLA made from GALs, I think, because those work very well. And I will try to get a new CIA as well. I think if we replace those two things, we should be hopefully back to normal. And yeah, I think the VIC will also get a nice little heatsink. And then hopefully we will have something working. Currently I'm also seeing broken DRAM on the dead test or on the diag. However, this could also be due to the fact that the RAS and CAS signals are not quite up to speed. So let's see. I have replacements for the RAM chip, so maybe we need to swap them out as well. We'll see. Before my replacement parts arrive, I do have a working PLA from a very old 250, what was it, 407, which I think is older than this here. And I'm gonna put this in, I would say. This should align with pin 1. And I took out the defective, presumably defective CIA, because this should work even without the CIA, but there should be some failing tests, or the IEC port should not work or whatever. And yeah, let's check if this actually works. That would be nice. because then we would know that this is what's actually wrong. And I will have a GAL replacement PLA in the coming days, but I don't want to wait that long. I marked the CIA with a question mark, as well as the PLA. Gonna put them to the side here, and then we're gonna check what's up. I'm gonna turn this thing on, and this is now not the dead test, but the desk test max. There we go. And yeah, that does look good. 0 page is okay, stack is okay, the first kilobyte is okay, second kilobyte is okay, third kilobyte is okay, and now we get screen and color RAM, I think. So that's why everything looks weird, but that's okay. I think. This is just more testing. Oh, all right. That seems to be all good, and it's cycling through. The second time of day is broken, obviously. I'm gonna plug in the presumably broken CIA. So let's see what this machine says when this is in. Right now the time looks good, but no, you see the second time is stuck. It is simply stuck for the second CIA, while the first CIA is just counting up completely correctly. So I do have another CIA, presumably working. I do have a bunch of CIAs obviously, but all of them are soldered into place, and I don't want to desolder them without need. And I do have a few CIAs in the mail, so we hopefully will have something to replace this with. Let me just quickly fetch the CIA. So this one seems to be one that has been desoldered, but supposedly working. We will see. The problem with the desoldered ones is, of course, that the legs are often shorter because they have been cut after being placed into the PCB. But this one seems to make good contact. This is a pretty early one, 32 week of 83. So let's turn this on. And this is indeed working, which means we do have a working C64. The DRAM is all fine. Everything seems to be working. The SID chip has to be tested. And for that, we'll move this whole thing over to somewhere where we can play a game, I would say. Or I'll just load up a game here. And but we need to wire in the audio. So give me a second. And I will do just that, and we'll play a round of Sam's Journey. Okay, the SID doesn't sound happy. Yeah, the SID is broken. Okay, this one needs a replacement SID. Definitely. Yeah, there's something very broken with the SID. Yeah, this is not a happy SID. This should sound quite different. I'm gonna try and see if I can find another 6581. I should have a couple. But in the long run, this thing might get an ARM SID perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, this is definitely off. The colors look a bit weird, but that might be due to my settings here. But I think everything is working fine so far. Let's load up one level, and then we'll swap out the SID and replace it with a different one. Which is sad. It's always sad to see SIDs go bad, but it's just What happened? Oh yeah, oh god. Yeah, this sounds terrible. I'm gonna swap out the SID for a working one, and we'll see in a bit. So it's again a couple of days later, and the board is complete and seems to be working. We had 3 defective chips. One of us is CIA. I've got a replacement part plugged in. And then we had the SID chip, which was only half living. And I'm gonna leave the ARM SID in here. I have a couple more on order because I used them quite a lot. Also in the reseed cartridge for the C16 and the Plus 4. And of course the PLA, which is also almost dead. Like this one was still kind of working. The clock was not working, but I didn't test it fully. So all 3 chips are mostly dead, and so all of this had to go. We have 2 new replacements. This is a neat PLA, which I didn't have before, and it is very neat. So this is a very lovely thing. Totally can recommend it. I think I need to test more on compatibility. We will run a couple of demos later. But to get a fully tested C64, we need something like this. This is a test harness that connects to all the external ports, because right now the diagram on the UFD cartridge says this thing still has broken ports because there's the loopback things missing. So we have to do a little bit of assembly here. I've never built this before, but I know that these connectors are just plug and play more or less. With these cables here, you don't have to solder them. That's pretty nice. But there's a bunch of things that need to be soldered. There are SMD components that are already installed, but a couple of LEDs will get in here. And yeah, so I'll try to assemble this, and then we hook it up to the board and see if everything is tested as okay. Okay, that was easy and hard because I had to figure everything out. The thing is, this is the original Sven Petersen Diag harness. So on his GitHub page, which is printed on the circuit board, you will find a ton of PDFs for each module one, except for this dongle here. But there are schematics how to wire this up. Basically, data and SRQN and clock and ATN are wired together, and everything else just stays as it is, I think, from what I can see. So it's basically a loopback dongle, and it goes to the IEC port, the floppy port. This is the keyboard connector. Pressing these was a little bit tricky, but I used the solid end of my hammer to push down gently, very gently, because I don't have a vise. So yeah, it worked out fine. You had to take care of the orientation, but Sven has excellent information about wiring up these type of connectors on his website, and he follows his own guidelines very well. So this should all fit together. We'll wire this up now. This goes to the user port, this goes to the cassette port. There should be enough room to do that. This goes on the keyboard connector, obviously. These are the 2 joystick ports, and this goes onto the IEC port. So let's wire this up and have a look if the board tests fine. So everything is hooked up. The user port, has the user port cartridge. The keyboard connector goes to the keyboard dongle. The tape connector, tape port dongle is also connected, and two very long cables go to the joystick ports to test that. I do expect these to perhaps fail because the ARM-SIT has slightly different values on the analog ports, but I hope everything else is working fine. So let's power this thing on. Oh, very, very bright LEDs. The green one turned off here. The green one here for the keyboard does still work. The diag is running, and this is still on red for some reason. We can still see the frequency of the UFD cartridge, which is fine. There's always a good indicator that the clock is present. But as we learned, the voltage that is shown here is actually not necessarily the exact voltage that is also at the chips, because we do have the 5 volt and the 12 volt regulator. There is the test for this tape control. And as you can see, the control port indeed reads bad. I'm gonna turn down the SID a little bit. And the SID is marked as bad because this is an ARM-SIT, and this is an analog measurement, so it is supposed to be a little bit out of spec. But mice and pedals will work using the ARM-SIT, which is contrary to, for example, the SwinSIT, which means everything is working fine. We have two working CIAs, we have a working ARM-SIT, we have the working MOS chip, and the whole test harness is working, which is good because there are a bunch of more C64s that I have here to repair, and this will be very useful to do that, actually. And I think we can put everything back together. I do have these 3D printed brackets for mounting, I think, here or something, or on the other side. One is for this side, the other is for the other side. I think they go something like this for the keyboard to mount on. So let's put everything back together, because there's nothing more to do. Everything works. A very quick look at the keyboard brackets, and they mount exactly here. This slots into one of the pegs in the bottom case, and on the right side this actually rests on one of the joystick ports and gets screwed in via the screw. Don't forget to put in the LED cable first, because it's right under here, and it's held in place at the front using these clips. And guess how I know how to not do this with the LED cable? I obviously forgot that. This actually also gets screwed in here, but both are just resting. But it's very, very solid now. Before it was sliding around, so I think we can close this up now and be done with it. So this is the C64C with the long board and the weird keyboard. I do like this machine. It will be really hard to give it away, but I think I can't keep all of the C64s. So let's see if it can run a demo. This should be Delirious 11 or something. Let's have a look if everything works, if the CIA still works. This looks good. And let's see if it actually can run the demo. I must say, the C64C, although I do like the breadpins more, it has a certain aesthetic, and the dark keys are absolutely amazing in contrast with the brighter keys. But I'm still wondering where the bright keys are coming from, if these are actual genuine Commodore keys. Maybe they are. Yeah, the demo seems to be working fine. I will let this run a little bit into the outro, but this is it for today. I think this was a pretty successful repair. Sadly, there were 3 chips broken, so quite an expensive repair. I do understand why the person who sold this sold it, but I think these machines are all worth of keeping, and I mean, this is such a nice case. And this can bring joy to someone for many, many years. I think with the Neat PLA and the ARM-SIT, this will run for decades probably. The CIAs are also probably going to last quite a bit, and you can basically repair anything on a C64, and there are modern replacements for basically all the chips. Even the CIA, that was the last part of the puzzle, although they are still a bit expensive, FPGA based CIAs, or CPLD, I don't know. Alright, so that's it for today. Share, like, and subscribe, put something in the comments. If you want to support me, you know what to do. If you have a broken C64 and are living in Germany, I might be able to have a look, but there are also other people who can help you. Check out the forums, that's always a great place to start. But so long, and see you on the next one.